Hey, this is Jeff with Expedition Essentials, and today we're going to give you a quick rundown on how to install our new Mercedes Sprinter powered accessory mount. The thing we're going to do is we're going to loosely assemble our dash mount using the hardware provided. That would be 3 countersunk screws up top and 4 for the sides. The side arms get a short countersunk 5/16 screw. And just make sure you're just getting the screws started. You're not fully tightening them at this point. Next step, we're going to take our loosely assembled dash mount and place it over the dash where it would normally sit. Just like this. And let it sit where the side mounts would go in their proper places. And we're going to mark the side holes only for drilling using a Sharpie. After those are marked, we can move on to the next step, which is removing the mount and then removing all the dash plastic, including the vents and the radio bezel. Set that out of the way. And I've already loosened them up, but your vents would pop out next. And the next thing we're going to do, there'll be 2 screws inside your vents that hold your radio bezel in place. I've already removed them, so we're going to go ahead and remove the bezel now. And they just have clips that holds it into the plastic. You're going to want to work your way around to loosen them up. Just like that. And I'm temporarily going to let it hang here. I'm not going to disconnect the electrical wires. If you do decide to disconnect the electrical, you're going to remove your battery connection to make sure that you have no faults. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this plastic trim, and it uses the same plastic clips to hold it in. And we're going to take these parts to the bench. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and drill out the holes that we marked in our previous step for the side arms using a 7/32 drill bit. Now we'll go ahead and loosely install our mount onto our bezel using the side screws and 10/32 or 10/32 half inch and a nylock nut. We are not going to tighten them yet, we're just loosely installing them. Alright, now that we have those on, go ahead and flip the mount over and prepare to drill our top holes. Alright, so you're going to want to check to make sure you have proper alignment right now. You've got your side mounts loosely installed, and we're going to take our same 7/32 drill bit and drill out the inner holes through the notched portion in the top of the mount. just like that. Once you have those drilled, we're going to go ahead and take this off again so we can install our inner support attachment hardware. And USB outlet. So the inner support will stay attached. Now that we've got it off, we'll go ahead and install our USB outlet. And that gets installed by slipping it through the inside. And installing the two 6/32 screws with nylock nuts. So after you get your USB outlet installed, we're going to need to drill one hole, and I use a 1/4-inch drill bit to do that with. And this is for your wiring harness for your USB outlet pass through. And what I've done here, and I'll show you, is I've already drilled it, but I've just done it in this crease here. It really doesn't matter where, just make sure it's in this crease and off to one side. And I've done that on the right side of the bezel, kind of in line with this rightmost screw hole. And just like that, just 1/4-inch drill bit. And it just gives you room for your wires to pass through. Next thing we're going to do after you've got your hole drilled for your wiring harness is we have to pull a little balancing act and feed your 1/2-inch 10/32 screws through the mounting holes here in the inner support bracket, just like this. Feed your wires through the hole that you previously made. And install your mount through the holes that you've drilled. There we go. Once you have those screws in, you can use a screwdriver to hold them in place and install the nuts. We're not going to tighten them up yet at this step. They get tightened up when we have it installed on the dash. And we'll go ahead and put the screws back into our side arms. Again, we're not tightening them all the way, just enough to get the thread started. Okay, now we'll take this to the vehicle and start our installation process. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and start the install process of our dash mount by reverse installation, feeding our radio through the bezel. And clipping into place. Once you're confident that you have all the clips securely in place, you can go ahead and tighten up all the hardware for the dash mount. I usually like to start with the side mounts and then work my way to the center. And that's using a Phillips head. You're going to need a 90 degree for this side and a 3/8 inch wrench. You don't need to over tighten, just get them snug and call it good. You can also tighten up these countersunk screws on the sides. And we can go ahead and tighten the top mount. You will have to flex this inner bracketry a little bit, but it's pretty easy and pretty flexible. Alright, so next step, we're going to wire up a USB. I'm just going to gently place this here out of the way now that we've got everything tightened up. And what we're going to do here is we're going to tap into our cigarette lighter. So we're going to need to run a wire up from here to behind the radio. So it's pretty easy to do on this one. This cup holder just pops out. I've already got it loose. So just pull this out and you can access these two wires on the back of your cigarette lighter. There's a brown one and a black one. Black is positive and brown is negative. Here you can see I've routed the wiring harness behind the radio on the right side, and it comes out beneath below where the cup holders are. It's an easy routing method and it works very well to get the wiring harness to the cigarette lighter. And here we're going to show you that we strip back the wiring harness about approximately a half inch to make sure there's a proper connection for the posi taps we use. And the posi taps are very easy to use. You unscrew the black end of the barrel and you place it over the wire you're tapping into, be it the negative or the positive, and then you insert the needle end over that split barrel end, the black end, and thread it back down and creates a connection. The other end, the negative and positive wires, will attach. You'll insert into the red end of the barrel by loosening the barrel, not all the way. We don't want to lose that end, and pressing it into the barrel and retightening the nut. They're really simple to use and work very well. At this point, we can go ahead and reinstall our cup holders by snapping them back into place and making sure it's nice and tight and secure. After that, we can go ahead and connect our negative and positive wires to our harness, corresponding red and black wires using the supplied terminals. The next step would be to reinstall your radio, but first it's a good idea to go ahead and test your USB connection before you close everything up. And then once that's good, you can go ahead and move on with reinstalling your radio by clipping back into place and just going over it a few times nice and snug to make sure that everything is securely in place. Once you're confident that it's securely in place, you can go ahead and reinstall your two removed screws on either side in the vent holes inside the dash, and move on to installing your vent and wrapping up installation. And that completes installation. Just one thing to note, that the top and front pre-threaded holes are a 10/32 machine thread, and that's for mounting accessories. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at expeditionessentials.com.